Hello everybody, it's your boy, Do With Dan, and this is pretty much where I've been existing for the past 2 months. As some of you guys might know, I was in a motorcycle accident, and I broke my fucking ankle. Look at that scar, can y'all see it? Can y'all get a good look-see at that? If you're thinking to yourself, that looks nasty, it's because they cut my leg open and put metal in it. Oh yeah, and then like sometime last week I stepped on it when I shouldn't have stepped on it, and it's partially split back open, but it's healing now, so we're getting there. So naturally, before I broke my ankle, I was recording stuff, doing stuff that I normally do, right? And I'm finally starting to get to that point where I can sit down in front of the computer and edit something for more than a couple of hours at a time, because that's the problem, is that I sit down for a couple of hours and my ankle swells up the size of your mom's bunions, and then I have to stop doing what I'm doing. That being said, before I broke my ankle, I was in the middle of building a center console for my dually. You guys probably know about that a little bit. And naturally I have a little bit of extra footage, and I was able to edit it down after the past couple days, which takes a lot longer than normal, by the way. And it's a little bit different. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. And speaking of enjoying things, before we get started, because this is where the intro, this is where the intro is gonna end, I have to talk about today's sponsor when I get back around. Raid Shadow Legends, that's right. It has been so absurdly long since we've done a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship on the channel, but I could not be more happy to welcome them back to the page, because I have medical bills, and they're giving me money to talk about their game. Raid is easily the best mobile game of all time, hands down. I love the fact that it's got good graphics, and it's got actual gameplay, battle mechanics, and the storyline is epic. See, normally orcs get a bad rap in fantasy, but Raid, they're not bad at all. After a brutal war, their lands were taken, forcing most of the orcs to become nomadic. And as they're just trying to survive, Queen Eva and the elves have joined their cause. But even they don't know her true motivation. So if you want to find that out, you have to play the campaign. And this month, Raid's got a non-stop schedule of special events and activities, including their jam-packed Halloween lineup towards the end of the month. We're talking massive rewards, huge tournaments against other players, special fragment events to get some legendary new champions, including one very spooky Halloween champion, and much, much more. If you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in my description, or scan the QR code, and you'll get an epic hero champion who's amazing in the Doom Tower. Shanaru? 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in the game. All of which is available in this top right corner here in that little treasure chest. You can click that. You can click that treasure chest right there, top right corner. And remember, all of this is only available for the next 30 days. So if you want to get on it, you got to get on it, all right? Now, I've done my part. We've had a good communication here. Thank you, Raid Gods, for supporting the channel once again and helping me get through my broke ankle. Thanks. And now, because of that, in Do With Dan fashion, it's time for us to get into the video, in today's video. Now, last time I left off, I had built the beginning of the front center console, but now I need to continue building on the inside of the center console to make it a center console. So I thought about all the different type of materials I could use, and I ended up settling on this for the moment. This is PVC sheet. You can buy it at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. Relatively cheap. I want to say I paid like 60 bucks for this sheet. Certainly cheaper than any piece of plywood or MDF you're gonna buy right now. But I've decided to start using the PVC sheet to build the inside of the center console, where you'd put all sorts of crap like your keys or your wallet, you know, the part with the lid that opens up. And this seemed like a good material to do it. It's cheap, it's efficient, it's light, and it glues together just like wood. So I start drawing out my dimensions, I start cutting out the general shape with the skill saw, and then I move over to the table saw where I know I can get nice, clean, precise edges to fit my dimensions. And I basically do that until I have all the pieces I need ready to get glued together. Test fit to make sure everything looks good, dimensions all fit right, and now it's time to do the glue. Now the cool thing about these PVC sheets is that you can just use regular PVC glue in order to adhere them together, and it holds and bonds strong. And before I do any sort of gluing, I'm gonna hit the edges with some sandpaper here, scuff them up really good to make sure that the glue bonds extra well. And then I'll clean it with a little bit of isopropyl. Alright, now it's time to glue everything up. I apply just a thin line of glue to each one of the edges to where they're gonna mate, then clamp them in place to make sure that they don't shift while they cure. Gotta have that nice clamp. I'm just gonna back off, let that dry until the glue sets, but once it does and I remove all my clamps, we have a nice, perfect center console box. Now here's the thing about this. I thought this material might be good enough to start making other things like whatever the hell I'm doing right here, but I decided not to use this for the rest of the center console because while it is pretty strong and it is efficient, it's not exactly the most scratch resistant material. You can take your thumbnail and kind of dig into it a little bit and mar it up, very similar to wood. Matter of fact, I would say that MDF is probably stronger than that. So I might end up just covering everything in some sort of felt to prevent any sort of dings or scratches that you might see. Alright, so now it's time to use the table router that we installed in the last video, and I'll be honest, this thing still makes me nervous. It's a giant spinning blade that will make you lose all of your fingers before you can say, ow, I lost all my fingers. But it is unfortunately the perfect tool that we need to put a nice bevel on all of our work pieces. And it's going to make them look extra clean after we install and finish everything. Alright, now it is time to transition over to something that I've never done before, which is working with acrylic. This is the first time I've ever really worked with any sort of acrylic medium, and I have to say it was a little bit more challenging, and I probably have to reduce some pieces when I get back to the shop after I've healed up and whatnot. But the cool thing about acrylic is that obviously it's transparent and it makes a great backlit or edge lit item. So if you want to add some RGB lights like I plan to do, using the acrylic to accent light or backlight everything, I think will make a great visual piece, use and drive on the daily. I cut out a rough piece of acrylic that I got from my local hardware store. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe a little bit thinner. I would like to sandwich this piece of acrylic between the exterior face that I made and the actual center console itself, leaving everything nice and edge lit. You know how I like my lights. And the one thing I wasn't ready for was just how weird acrylic was gonna be. And I don't know if it's because it's so thin or because of router speed differences. It took me a minute to hone it in. It was very grabby. The blades like to grab the acrylic, and it took me a long time to get to a good router speed that didn't want to kick back all the time and not chip the acrylic either. I did notice that the more edge that I left, the harder the router wanted to kick on me, versus if I left the edge as minimal and as close to the tracing piece as possible, it would kick much less. But this was still a hardcore learning experience. Now
Now we're gonna move away from the 1/8 inch thick acrylic to a 1/2 inch thick acrylic. Now I had to go to a plastic supply company to pick this up. It was a little bit more expensive. I wanna say this sheet ran me about 250 bucks for a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of acrylic. And it's heavy. So heavy, as a matter of fact, that I couldn't pick it up to put it on my sawhorses like I would another medium, like MDF or plywood. So I just had to cut it in my doorway. Once I got the rough cuts, I moved over to the table saw to get everything nice and accurate and precise. And you also might see my buddy Sean installing some electrical equipment for me in the background. He's helping me wire up the plasma cutter and also wire up the air compressor. So since the acrylic was so thick, I wanted to experiment with different kind of cutting methods. You know, I got this little vibro knife thing from Milwaukee. It's not bad. I wanted to see how it would work on the thick acrylic, but it didn't. So we're back to the old school method, which is drill holes, mount to the desk, and cut with a skill saw. So I have one piece that's already cut and smooth, and I'm gonna basically just drill this to my table and then use my flush trim router bit to trace the good piece against the new piece. And that will get us 2 exact pieces with smooth, crisp lines. And I did notice that trimming the thicker acrylic with the router was much easier than the thin acrylic. But by that time, I'd already dialed in my speeds for the router, so it didn't chip the acrylic rather than cut it. Now, the only problem that I ran into towards the end here was not having the acrylic glue that I bought online. Nobody locally distributed it to me, and it took at least 2 weeks to get here, and by the time it got here, Dan had broke his ankle. So unfortunately, this is pretty much the last bit of footage and last bit of work that I did at the shop before I crippled myself. All right, so that is it. That's the last little bit of work I did before I shut down the shop, which is unfortunate because I have a lot more to do and I'd like to get back at it as soon as possible. Now, what I will say is if you made it to this part of the video, I want to say thank you for the long time support. I know the last month and a half hasn't been fucking awesome on the channel. Like, it's been kind of shit, right? Like, I haven't been able to do anything fun or cool. The good news is I have an appointment in 2 weeks, and hopefully she will give me, my doctor, hopefully she will give me the clear to go ahead and start walking again. That'd be fantastic, because I haven't put any weight on my left foot in 2 months, pretty much at this point. Because, yeah, no, actually, yeah, 2 months. So I'm really ready to get back to like doing that. And I have some major changes that I'm gonna do to the channel because of like my newfound inspiration to do everything. Good changes that you guys are gonna like. I think it's probably gonna make this channel 10 times better. Like, my accident will hopefully bring back the channel to its like original glory, if that makes any sense. But anyway, guys, that's really all I have for you guys. The classic plug to purchase my, I've got merchandise if you guys want to be a part of that. Links in the description. 10% off all HeatwaveVisual sunglasses. Use the coupon code DOITWITHDAN. Buy some heat waves. It directly helps me. If you buy some of my merch, it helps me. And like, I know I've never been a plugger I've never tried to plug my merch before, but I think I get a pass. I think I totally get a pass here. So if you want to do that, cool. If you don't, also cool. Not gonna hurt my feelings. And I will see you guys in the next. I still have to finish editing this. I'm not done yet, but I have to finish editing this, and then there'll be another video, and then another video. You guys, same old song and dance. Just continue making videos forever. All right.